Hello, everybody. This is Robert J. Slez. I wanted to discuss the subject of relics. I promised that I was going to do so some time ago, and I never really got into the subject. Um, Relics are something that most Protestants don't know about, or they may think they know what it's about, what they are. Um, I wanted to make sure that everyone knows what they are, Catholics and Protestants and everyone else for that matter. Um, if we could turn to the scriptures, you know, best way to start is the scriptures, right? So we go to Acts chapter 5. I thought I had everything prepared. Verse 15 through 16. And this is just a scant passage that really gives us a more descriptive flair of what we're going to be discussing a little later. I'm going to try to keep this at 30 minutes because the shorter the better. It's very simple and sweet. So as we look at this passage, we see Paul preaching. Paul is doing a lot of preaching already by now. And Luke is writing and explaining what Paul is basically doing. He must have spent time with Paul, and Paul transferred the information to Luke, and hence we have the whole account of Luke, of Paul's experiences in a more condensed fashion in the Acts of the Apostles. So we see in chapter 5 of Acts, verse 15, very clearly how it says this: thus they even carried the sick out into the streets and laid them on cots and mats, so that when Peter came by, at least his shadow might fall on one or another of them. It says in verse 16 following, a large number of people from the towns in the vicinity of Jerusalem also gathered, bringing the sick and those disturbed by unclean spirits, and they were all cured. One could obviously see that they were cured because of the shadow fell on them of Peter. They had faith. Just like if you remember, Jesus in one of the Gospels passages cures a woman by her very much just touching the cloak of Jesus, you see. And Jesus turns around because everybody was touching him. But he turned around and said, power just left me. So it's faith, not in the object, but in the person. And what we understand relics to be is power of prayer, basically coming upon the form of clothes, handkerchief, like that of, later I'll quote Paul, and how his handkerchiefs were healing other people. Now, it's not inanimate objects healing people. It is these articles that are worn by holy people, you know, like it says in the Bible, the prayer of a holy man availeth much. Well, why is it that a relic like this, St. John Paul II the Great, right here, is going to affect some kind of healing. And will it? How do you know? I mean, is this a magic trick? No, of course not. Um, you know, we have it from the Bible very clearly how this type of situation, in this situation, a large number of people were cured by the very fact that they were lining up to be touched or felt by Peter's shadow. And think of it in these terms. Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, had a special power by God, not by himself, you know. And I think in this way we come to understand much of what relics mean. Now, I have all kinds of relics I thought I'd bring to you to share with you and to give you an idea of what I have. And the only way to do that is to show you what they look like, right? Here's a relic of Padre Pio. Let me see the relic right here. Okay, this is a third class relic, meaning that it was, I'll explain that now. A third class relic is one that is touched to the tomb or the body or another relic of a particular saint, holy person who obviously has died, passed away. There are no relics of live people. You know, if there's a Mother Teresa was walking around still alive, someone touched her, well, they could be healed, but that wouldn't be considered any reliquary. There wouldn't be any relic involved there. A person has to have a relic who has passed on, or it may very well be that something like a handkerchief, Paul's, could have been after he died, or it could have been after, during his lifetime. There are many situations where St. John Paul II the Great, one situation in particular, he was walking down the Vatican Basilica on the outside, just greeting people, shaking hands. And there was a man crouched with black glasses, dark glasses, kind of like hunched down. And he greeted him and he told him, go to the Basilica of St. John Lateran and pray before the image of the Divine Mercy. I wish I had a picture image. At any rate, he did that. Or obviously someone who pulled the wheelchair helped him to get to that church. After getting there, he was obviously directed to pray before that image. He didn't see it. He was blind. What happens next is very interesting and of good witness. The next image I see when I'm reading this biopic is in a magazine article. It's him greeting Pope John Paul II, standing straight, greeting him, hello, how are you, with a smile on his face, no glasses, no nothing. And the story goes to the way most of these go. And that is where he tells the story of how he saw Jesus come out of the image of the Divine Mercy. He came out and he touched him. Doesn't mean that the image was Jesus, okay? It means that it was Christ through the inanimate object used his way to effect a miracle, a miraculous happening. And in that, hello, Mr. Cruz. And in that moment, this man was healed. So this is how we understand relics They are through an intercessory power. Sure, they are objects, just like water is an object used to baptize, correct? But that doesn't mean the water itself has any power. It's not a magic trick. Now, whatever we believe about baptism, the fact of the matter is we believe, many of us, that baptism brings us into some kind of relationship with God and with our fellowship of believers, whether it's in our Catholic faith or in other faiths, okay? So there is no doubt that God uses inanimate objects, just like Jesus used putty in his hands and spittle in the Gospels to heal a blind man. Now, why would he do that? He could have simply said, go off on your way, you're healed. You don't. There's a reason God uses this, and that is to teach us and instruct us. And since I can't sleep, I figured I'd finish this topic today. The next passage that I want to talk about is, at least go over, is Acts chapter 19. Verse 12. Well, actually it starts at verse 11. So extraordinary were the mighty deeds God accomplished at the hands of Paul, that when face cloths or aprons that touched his skin, note, touched his skin or his person, were applied to the sick, their diseases left them, and the evil spirits came out of them. Clearly, inanimate objects were used from, not even from that person, but having items, and those would be considered third class. Third class meaning that they were touched to the individual or to the individual's cloak. In this case, they were touched to his skin. Okay, well, this could be touched to, the tomb, or maybe the clothes of someone who is then beatified and sainted. We're all saints. Let's not get carried away here. We're all saints, but we believe in God's Hall of Fame. Okay, just like we believe in all baseball players. Professional baseball players are just that, professional baseball players. But there is a Hall of Fame. Well, why is there a Hall of Fame? Because there is a special place for people who possess special skill. So, by using that analogy, that's how we apply the analogy to canonization of saints. So, these saints right here, these saints, Padre Pio and St. John Paul II the Great, trying to avoid the glare, are sainted because of their holiness. They're canonized because of their holiness. Okay, not because of who they are. I have other relics that I'd like to share with you. I have another relic of St. Padre Pio on the back, and I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is second. Second class would be the actual material that was worn by this particular saint. I'm led to believe that this is the actual cloak that was worn by Padre Pio. You can see it's brown. Obviously, that would be, and this is kind of old, this would be obviously one of his maybe pieces of his habit. What they do is they cut little pieces of habits. You Could be, I don't know. What I do know for sure is that I have, this is an actual second class, and this is true. This is second class of, it's, he's considered, I believe, either venerable or blessed. I don't know. I don't know if he's beatified as yet. I have to check. But it is a relic. Once you're venerable, you can, this is obviously you're not, you're considered holy. So this is a relic of Father Solanus Casey. You can look him up. Solanus and Casey, Casey. And this is a relic, okay? This is exactly a piece of relic that he wore, okay? So he wore this. And the last words of Father Solanus Casey was, "I give my soul to Jesus Christ," before he died, okay? Another relic that I have here, and it actually says it's a cloth touched to the relic of Saint Maria Goretti. This is a relic right here on the bottom. It's white, of Saint Maria Goretti. This young girl in the early 20th century chose to die rather than allow herself to be raped. She was beaten by Alessandro. I don't know his last name. She was only, I think, 14 or 15 years old. And when she got to the hospital, of course, in those days, it was hard to get to a hospital, but they got her to a hospital. She died, I think, a few hours after, maybe a couple hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, I'm not sure. It's a good thing. She appeared to this young man, Alessandro, who was older, maybe in the early 20s. She appeared to him with flowers, with lilies, actually, representing, ironically, purity. She died in a state of grace. She died defending her purity. That's beautiful. That's holy. And he converted, and her mother and himself were at the sainting, the canonization ceremony, I believe in the 1930s, 40s, I believe, by Pope Pius XII. The canonization took place before the murderer and the mother. Can you believe that? That's mercy, isn't it? Of this daughter of hers. That's amazing. It's amazing. And I encourage all of you to read this story about her. Her name is Maria Goretti, Goretti. Beautiful, beautiful story. And here is one of my other favorites. This is also touched to, I believe this is touched to who's called Saint Bernadette. Saint Bernadette is one of my favorites. You see the little, I believe, again, it's white. You're here on the bottom. It's hard to see. Probably see a little glistening of it. So, she's a saint, and so is Saint Maria. Saint Bernadette saw the vision of Mary, who told her her name. Bernadette she was not studious. She didn't go to school. Oh, she went to school. She just wasn't, she was slow, okay? Saint Maria Goretti, actually, I'm sorry, Saint Bernadette, she saw Our Lady, and she didn't even know who she was. She didn't know. She went to her mother. I saw this beautiful lady. I don't know who she is. We're not, people think that people right away, assume things, and they don't. So, the story goes that the next time she appeared to her, she was told, to take some holy water to sprinkle on her. And when she did so, the lady smiled, didn't go away. So, what happened was to the effect that during that time of these apparitions, Our Lady allowed Saint Bernadette a miracle through what's called the waters of Lourdes. Look it up for yourselves. I actually have a bottle of the actual Lourdes water. I have 10 other bottles. I don't buy these, can't buy these, but you pay for the shipping and handling, and they're $3. Obviously, it takes a while. They have to bring this from France. This is not something you just pour it from a glass. So they get these from France. They put them in jars and then they package them. So there's a lot of work involved. So I generally it's a donation of $3 per bottle. It takes a while. It's beautiful because it strengthens you. I drank this during my week when I was going through this difficult moment of going under some testing today, and everything turned out fine, thank God. And so I just asked her intercession. Here's also a relic touched in French from Saint Marguerite Marie of, if you recall, Saint Margaret Alacoque of Alacoque. This is a relic in red, and I believe this is touched. Yeah, it says touched, and this is So that's Saint Margaret Mary. She is very well known. And she was very holy. And certainly, you don't get to become a saint because you're not. And there's another one I have. Let me see what this says here. Here's it opens up like this. There's one here, and we have here. What does it say? It says, yeah, same thing. Touched. It's very hard to get older relics as second class because by that time, most of the clothes are cut up and given away. Most of them are left in churches, but I do have a few, and I'm grateful. Father Solanus is the only one I think I have that is second class, although I thought I had another one. I might have it in my room. I'm sorry. So I just wanted to leave these and share these with you, and give you some idea. Since we're about to finish up a little bit, give you some thoughts. I wrote some preparatory letters. Many people today, since the time of Luther, abused a lot of different things in the church, in the Catholic Church. Relics, indulgences, these are all true and holy items, holy things. And unfortunately, for good or for ill, they've been used and misused. What we need to come to understand is that these are items that help us in our sanctification. They're not necessary for our salvation. They're helpful to us in our sanctification. Because when you're close to them, well, you experience the healing that we read in Scripture. Baptism, water, Jesus was in the spittle on the eyes of the blind man, got healed. Clearly know that other people have done healings, not just Jesus. Jesus imparts us, gifts to us. But what we need to remember is that this is all an act of God. In the end, that's what we need to believe. One question is there room for doubt? The true cross at Notre Dame. Is it really? Well, that cross, by the way, is historically, verifiably pinpointed to St. Helena, who was the mother of Constantine, by the way, in the 4th century, 300 AD or so, 325. She went to Jerusalem, actually, or she went to the Golgotha. She went there and she wanted to get parts, she wanted to find parts of the true cross, the crown worn by Christ. Now, whether they are or they aren't exactly, we're not infallible, okay? We only know what was written, what was passed on to us by other people and holy people, not just ordinary people. And we use that as reference. No more, no less than if somebody were to say, there's incontrovertible proof that George Washington never existed. Now, of course, we know that there is through history. Did George Washington really sleep in a particular bed? Well, we'd have to do some detective work, right? We may never know for sure. We may have to rely on probabilities. It's the same with relics. So some are beyond doubt. Others are so highly probable that it would be rash to doubt. Others are merely probable. And some, yes, are improbable. So we wouldn't want to toss out even most of those in case we err and toss out something that really is a relic. We all know that relics were used in the early Christianity since I just showed in the Bible. The word relic isn't there, but semantics, goes. It's not really just semantics, it's rhetoric. The veneration, the actual veneration, the honor, the homage given to relics is explicitly in an account, and Protestants love to quote Polycarp, in an account of Polycarp's martyrdom, written by the Smyrnaeans in AD 156, at the time of Irenaeus, who was his pupil. Indeed. In it, the Christians described the events following his burning at the stake. This is what they said. We took up his bones, which are more valuable than precious stones and finer than refined gold, and laid them in a suitable place where the Lord will permit us to gather ourselves together as we are able in gladness and joy, and to celebrate the birthday of his martyrdom. So that's one excerpt that we find in the early church. Others are in the 4th century by Jerome. He said, actually, we do not worship, we do not adore, for fear that we should bow down to the creature rather than to the Creator. but we venerate the relics of the martyrs in order the better to adore him, Jesus Christ, whose martyrs they belong to. They are. I think I kind of gave you folks a little taste of this. If there's any more interest, I'll be happy to answer more questions. You're welcome to post, and I'm more than happy to exhaust more time to the subject, but I think that I gave all of us scriptural and some of the writings that I wrote here, and also relics of my own here. Now, by the way, Lourdes water is not considered a relic. It's simply a miraculous event that took place. The water basically started to flow in Lourdes after, or Bernadette started to do something that Our Lady asked her to do. She was digging up something from the ground. And then water started to sprout. Spring. And to this very day, it's still there. It has never disappeared. I drink it. I have to tell you, folks, I was very scared going for this procedure today. Sunday, I was horrified. I was restless. I couldn't sleep. I prayed. Perseverance in prayer is very important. Monday, no fear at all. I tried to be afraid. I thought, what's wrong with me? Something's got to be wrong with me. Just nothing. I couldn't, I slept well. Tuesday. Wednesday, I had the prepping, which I had to drink that yucky stuff. And then today, I had the colonoscopy in the upper GI. Everything went well. Thank God. Thanks be to God. So at 32 minutes, I want to keep this short. This is 30-minute apologetics with RJ, so I'd like to keep it that way. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you all were able to see this. Please remember that this will be deleted because I have to copy this into a YouTube format. So after I do that, I will post it into the forum and also on my page as a YouTube program, so that more people will be able to see this, not just those of you tonight, this morning. Thank you very much. God bless you. God be with you. God bless you.